Thank you very much. Okay, the next question will also be 1 minute each, and Kathleen will be starting with you. The legislature recently passed an act to foster economic independence, which the governor signed into law. This bill includes providing information on obtaining a college education, job training, and proper EBT card use to recipients. It also sets forth punishments for shop owners who accept EBT illegally. Do you think this bill went far enough to curb EBT abuse and truly promote independence?
I think that the legislature had a strong session trying to curb fraud, because when it comes to the Department of Transitional Assistance, everybody supports there being adequate resources for people that need it, that need to get the help. But the way that I put it is that where there is money, there's fraud, whether it's on Wall Street or it's the abuse of EBT cards. And one of my pieces of legislation that I filed was to place the photo back on the EBT card. It used to be, and it was taken off. And there's no one silver bullet, but in order for us to be able to increase that line item, we have to be able to plug those holes where the wrong people that are abusing the system are really not serving the people that need access to those resources. So that bill was a partnership between curbing fraud in the Department of Transitional Assistance and creating expanded opportunity for workforce access and workforce development.
Okay, thank you very much. Jessica.
Thank you. I think that it is important, critically, that we foster economic independence. I think that we differ greatly on how to accomplish that. I was frankly shocked that you voted against raising the minimum wage, and I noted that you did vote so that the IDs were going on to the EBT card, but then also voted against a small study that didn't cost much that would find out if this would negatively impact working families first. And there are many studies that have proven that this isn't an effective way to curb fraud, but it is a way to prevent people from using the services they need. As somebody who's used those services before, I don't think that that was the right way to go, and I was disappointed in that vote. I certainly would not have voted to do that myself. So I think that's the right way to go, is to make sure that we are curbing fraud, and that's important, but we need to make sure we do it in the right way that doesn't impact working families negatively. That's the lifeblood of this community.
Since she did speak directly to you, Senator, I'm going to give 30 seconds to each of you to rebuttal or reiterate the question.
I appreciate that opportunity, because I think that there's a misunderstanding in terms of my position on the minimum wage. And I voted proudly with every other Democrat in the Massachusetts legislature for an increase in the minimum wage. And my difference as the issue was being debated was the Senate version of the bill had the minimum wage proposal indexed to the CPI. And the House version of the legislation did not. And I felt very strongly that the right direction to go, the less complicated way to go, was to go the House approach. And I've always been in favor of increasing the minimum wage, and the reason why indexing didn't make sense to me is that would mean indefinite fluctuation. And the bill that we voted on to increase it to $11 in 2017 would actually result in higher wages than the original proposal, which was for $10 indexed to inflation. So I'm very proud of the vote, and it's been twisted that I'm against it. The vote speaks for itself.
Okay. Jessica, 30 seconds.
I think that it's important that we note that you were against it before you were for it. And when you were for it, it was because you had a Democratic opponent. What I see is that not only did you vote against raising the minimum wage after promising that in your campaign in 2012, but you also voted to have an amendment that cuts the minimum wage from $11 to $9 without CPI, so that we need to organize and have a huge uprising every time we can't afford a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk because inflation has rose. And I don't think that that's the right thing for Merrimack Valley, and I don't believe that's the right thing for Massachusetts. And I think that it's important that people understand that difference is a huge difference. You voted against it. You voted against the Tumulty Amendment. You voted against the Pacheco Amendment for tipped employees. And then when you had a Democratic opponent, you voted for it. I will be a leader you can trust to not do that.
We will be having more rebuttal time towards the end. So just in the interest of getting as many questions out there as possible. This one will be starting with you, Jessica. What role, if any, do you think the state should play in mediating the crisis at Market Basket to ensure one of our largest employers doesn't go out of business? And you'll have 1 minute for that. Jess?
So I was very proud to sign on to Senator Feingold's petition to support the customers and associates as well. I think that this is incredibly important. When we talk about labor in the United States, this is one of the businesses that has been doing things right, that have been paying people a fair wage. When I go in there and I talk to the people that have been working there, Mary down on Haverhill Street, Market Basket, you see 40 years. 30 years of how many years they work there. And I think that it's so critically important to recognize that we actually have a business that's doing the right thing and to stand up for that. I was very disappointed by your vote, by what you actually put on your Facebook saying that this was exclusively a private issue. I know that you spoke personally on the actual, stumping, at the actual rally. I'm not currently senator. I wasn't able to do that. But I did go and visit, and I did go and talk to all of them.
Thank you very much. 1 minute.
Thank you. I did say on my Facebook page, although it's a private matter, I was strongly in support of the market basket workers, and I think it's really important to complete statements and not misinform the public about other people's positions. And actions speak louder than words, and I attended both rallies for the Market Basket employees. I didn't just attend, I spoke on the stage and I addressed the workers, sharing that solidarity with them. Not only am I a customer, but in my role as a senator, this is in relation to the farmers who can't bring their produce to the store. This affects both part-time and full-time employees, and it affects the customers who are using Market Basket as an affordable place to go food shopping. Yesterday, I did my food shopping at Shaw's. I don't know how many different ways I can demonstrate that I support them, but I have signed on to Senator Feingold's letter. I have drafted my own letter and sent copies to all of our district's managers for Market Basket.
Okay. Thank you both very much. Just a reminder, we will not be allowing personal attacks. I don't feel you have, either of you yet, so just wanted to remind you of that. But anyway, question number 5. After the convictions of Probation Department Chief John O'Brien and his deputies on racketeering and fraud charges, do you have any procedures or laws you would propose to ensure that something like rigged hiring doesn't happen again in any Massachusetts department? Kathleen.
When this controversy was underway and the case was before the courts, we made sure that in our office we developed a letter of recommendation best practices protocol, because residents call us all the time asking for letters of recommendation or assistance, whether it's in a position at a fire department or a teaching position or even to get into college. So we had specific guidelines administered from Ethics, and we quickly implemented that so that we can work within the confines of the law and also provide advocacy for our residents.
Okay, thank you. 1 minute, Jessica.
I think that's great. I would certainly build on that. I think that that is a wonderful idea and a great start, and I think that something that's really important that we have a conversation about is transparency in government. I think that that's something extremely lacking, and that's why I promised to post all of my votes online so that you always know where I stand on every issue. And I've also promised to spend a lot of time in the district every month talking with people, talking about upcoming votes, so that it's not just political insiders who actually get to know, what votes are upcoming, and people can give their input. So that will be really important to me. But I'm glad that you are doing those things, and I think that's really important.
Okay. We are going to give you both time to ask each other a question now.